It's 3 a.m. Somewhere, right now, a brand new parent is bouncing a screaming infant. Oh boy, Googling how to make babies sleep for the 9th time tonight? Modern pediatrics has a tidy, gentle answer. A dark room, a consistent bedtime, a stable circadian rhythm. It is evidence-based. It is humane. It is, frankly, exhausting.
So let me introduce you to the 19th century, which had a much faster solution.
It just didn't always specify for how long. Today, 3 separate occasions on which real, licensed, respected doctors handed their patients an actual poison and confidently called it medicine. We're going in chronological order of escalating confidence. Welcome to the show. Our first stop is the year 1849. There is no Food and Drug Administration. There are no ingredient labels.
There is no requirement that a medicine contain medicine, or that it not contain, say, a controlled narcotic.
It's called Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup. Created by a nurse, bottled by her son-in-law, and marketed as a magical cure for teething, colic, and crying of all kinds. The advertising was wholesome to the point of parody. Cherubic babies, glowing mothers, soft, warm fonts. Likely to soothe any human or animal. And it absolutely did soothe them. And it absolutely did soothe them. Because the active ingredient was morphine. Let's be exact, because the numbers matter. Each fluid ounce of the syrup contained roughly 65 milligrams of morphine. The recommended dose for a crying infant was a teaspoonful, 3 or 4 times a day. 1 teaspoon of this syrup contained a lethal dose of morphine for a child.
So parents weren't soothing their babies.
They were, very gently, with a tiny silver spoon, administering a potentially dangerous dose. Here's what's actually happening inside the child. Morphine is a mu-opioid agonist. Those centers are what tell you to breathe. Morphine turns the volume down on them. The baby isn't peaceful. The baby's central nervous system has been chemically convinced that breathing is optional. This was not a fringe product. It sold for over half a century across 2 continents in respectable shops. In 1911, the American Medical Association published a damning report, and the syrup earned a new nickname, something widely condemned as unethical and no longer allowed. After ingredient labels became mandatory, the makers quietly removed the morphine. Funny how a label changes the marketing. Fast forward to the 1920s. Science has discovered radioactivity, and the public has decided it's amazing. Radium glows in the dark.
So, obviously, it must be full of life energy.
So they put radium in everything. Toothpaste, face cream, chocolate, suppositories, water. The flagship product was Radithor, distilled water with a measured dose of radium dissolved in it. The energy drink of the Jazz Age was radioactive.
His creator, William Bailey, marketed himself as Dr. Bailey.
He was not a doctor. He was a Harvard dropout. He sold over 400,000 bottles. Enter our protagonist, Eben Byers. In 1927, he hurts his arm falling from a train berth. Doctor recommends Radithor. Byers loves it, says it makes him feel toned up, so he doesn't take it occasionally. He drinks roughly 3 bottles a day, about 1,400 bottles over the next few years. Here is the biology, and it's genuinely elegant in the way a trap is elegant. Radium sits in the same column of the periodic table as calcium. To your body, calcium and radium look almost identical, which is exactly where the trap begins. Your body doesn't sound an alarm. It simply lets the radium pass through like something useful. It treats radium like calcium, handing it over to the same bone-building system. And instead of throwing it away, the body stores it straight inside the bones, bottle after bottle. From outside the body, alpha radiation seems almost harmless. Even a sheet of paper can stop it. But once it's trapped inside your bones, every tiny burst of radiation strikes living tissue from the inside. Day after day, healthy bone dies a little faster than the body can replace it. Then the first visible sign appears. His teeth begin to loosen as the jaw beneath them slowly disappears. Surgeons removed much of his upper and lower jaw, but the damage had already spread too far. By the time investigators saw him, much of his jaw was already gone. When Eben Byers died in 1932, his body still contained enough radioactive radium to remain dangerous for decades. The Wall Street Journal captured the tragedy with one headline that history never forgot. The radium water worked fine until his jaw came off. Our final stop takes us back to the 19th century and medicine's strange obsession with heavy metals. If morphine was prescribed for sleep and radium was prescribed for energy, mercury was prescribed for almost everything. Toothaches, constipation, parasites, depression. Doctors believed mercury could cure them all. The thinking was surprisingly simple. Doctors believed disease came from bad fluids trapped inside the body. If you could force those fluids out, you believed you had cured the patient. Mercury certainly made that happen, just not in the way anyone hoped. The most famous version was a medicine called blue mass. Nearly 1/3 of every pill was pure elemental mercury. But mercury wasn't simply passing through the body. It was quietly finding its way to the organ that mattered most, the brain. Normally, your brain is protected by something called the blood-brain barrier, a highly selective security system that keeps dangerous substances away from your neurons. Mercury was different. Because of its chemical properties, it could slip straight through that barrier, almost unnoticed. Once inside, it became trapped and began interfering with the very cells that allowed the brain to function. The result wasn't a cure. It was tremors, memory loss, paranoia, and uncontrollable rage. One of Blue Mass's most famous patients was Abraham Lincoln, who took the pills for years to manage his depression. Modern estimates suggest he was consuming thousands of times more mercury than today's safety limits. Eventually, Lincoln noticed something unusual. The medicine wasn't making him better. It was changing him. It's entirely possible that one of history's calmest leaders became calmer simply because he stopped poisoning his own brain. Take a step back, and the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. 3 different centuries, 3 different medicines, 3 completely different disasters. Every one of them began with the same idea: solve a real problem as quickly as possible. Modern medicine exists because history taught these lessons the hardest way imaginable. Every clinical trial, every safety regulation, every ingredient label exists because people before us paid the price for discovering what doesn't work. History is full of brilliant ideas that turned out to be terrible ones. If you enjoy exploring the strange side of medicine, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next case.